Hey Harmonizers, it's time for an Andy update. That's my little Evelyn riding Dare following little Andy. So you can see he's pretty tolerant even of ponies going right up behind him. That's Coach Ryan taking Andy for a ride. And then a little bit of a traffic jam there as Dare came right up behind him, but he's super tolerant of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to show you some of his jumping progress and some of the things that we've been doing. So Andy, when we purchased him to be a lesson horse, his background was primarily Western pleasure, a little bit of trail and Western pleasure. And we've been adding some jumping miles and doing just kind of some more fitness work, getting him going a little bit more. This is Coach Ryan taking him for a little bit of canter. So I'm going to show you guys a lot of that progress. Here is her starting some of the over fences work. So when we are starting horses over jumps in our program, we mostly start at slow speeds, at low heights, and we focus on just trying to get that straightness, just kind of find the middle of the jump and get down to the center. And this is going to be super cute. You're going to see a huge transformation from the beginning of this video to the end of this video with what he's been accomplishing over this time. And some of the rides have been with our coaches, whether it be Coach Ryan or Coach Jess, they're both experienced riders that also have done a fair bit of training on younger horses or green horses. So it's great that they know how to stay out of his mouth, off his back, focus on just keeping him straight and going forward. All of these things are super important because when you're teaching horses to jump, let's say Coach Ryan gives him a yank on the mouth there, that would cause him to not want to do jumping. And then here, as he starts to get things, we start to canter the jump. So as the trotting starts to go well, we start to add in the cantering of the jumps, just a couple at the time so it's not super overwhelming. And you can see sometimes he gets some awkward spots and sometimes he gets beautiful spots. And that's just because he hasn't had experience at this point of what to do with his feet. So the goal is to come into the middle of the jump, make sure you just give to the horse's head and stay off his back so he's continuing to want to try. And he's really got this really nice, chill, laid back attitude of just being pretty honest over the jumps. As long as you're kind of steering him pointed at the jump, it might be not a perfectly straight line to get there, but he goes over really willingly. He's not scared of the jumps or anything like that. And you can see the cantering of the jumps is going pretty nicely here. She comes into the cross rail and he even shortened his stride there, ends up breaking into a trot, which is really not so bad. So Ryan just picks him back up into the canter. And as a horse is learning to do these things, it's super important that you don't get mad at them. Like there's a little bit of a bounce jump and he broke into a bit of a trot. And so she positions him and gets him going into the canter again. So you never want to like smack a horse or be like, oh, you didn't do that great. Because remember, whenever you're learning a new task, you want to keep their confidence high that they're willing to try and praise them along the way. So that way they're thinking, okay, that was not so bad. That's pretty good. Rather than getting really particular so soon. So it looks different riding a horse that's brand new to jumping versus a horse that knows the job and knows what they're doing. A horse like that, you might want to start to get picky about how straight they are, the middle of the fence, takeoff spots, all those types of things. But where Andy is at, this is brand new jumping, cantering jumps. It's like, okay, like let's just go over straight to the center. And you can see he's actually doing pretty nicely. Most of the time he canters a pretty good stride to the jump and seems to get a decent takeoff and adjusts his feet enough, which is fantastic. We ended up using him in our Ponies of Pontypool. You can see there was a lot of people there and he was super great being groomed and being around all those people. And then this is him now being ridden by a junior rider in some lessons. So she was doing some weekly lessons on him and doing some jumping as well. So as well as some pole work, which is great because we've been doing a fair bit of pole work as well as the single fences. The pole work teaches him where to place his feet so he can learn how to stride himself going over the different poles, whether it be trotting or cantering. And then the single jumps allows him the opportunity to build up his confidence getting over the jumps, because if you get into the grid work too soon, it can feel a little overwhelming. And then this is cool because you get to see, even with a junior rider, like he goes around at his canter and She does a great job of just kind of sitting up and going with them, and they're figuring out together, what speed to go. She's even having to ride around the different poles. So she's doing an awesome job there. She's a pretty young rider, and she's actually pretty new to cantering. She has done canter before, but it's been something that she's working on. She hasn't really done a lot of full laps of canter around the arena. It's still pretty new stuff, but Andy's pretty easy to get going and pretty easy to stop. So it makes him kind of nice that way. And when I say easy to get going, like you can see he's not super quick into the canter there. Like he's a little slow, and he even tripped and stumbled there, and she let go of her reins pretty much entirely. But he didn't like take off with her or do anything bad. He just stumbled over his own feet, and no big deal. So here she's going to pick up the canter and do that again. And so when we're doing our lessons teaching canter, we really teach people to sit up nice and tall, and we try not to have them leaning forward, which is great because then if a horse trips and stumbles, then you're not tumbling off after your horse. And here you can see she's got to steer around the pole. So she's doing great figuring out this whole steering thing. And Andy and her haven't done cantering before together, so this is all new, figuring out each other's buttons. But he's such a nice tempered horse that we can really trust him to go out with the beginners. Here's a little look at our March break camp going around with the campers. And then here's with that lesson student again. This is the same student, the same junior student who is doing the weekly lessons with Andy. And now you get to see her doing a little bit of jumps and seeing where that's going. And you're going to get to see a little bit of the pole work combined with the jumping. And we also have a lot of steering visuals to help people know where to go. And of course, we've added in the pool noodles here as one of the jumps, which he could care not at all about. He's pretty chill about all of those types of things. And then we've got these barrels or the pylons set up in the corner to help her know where to go and make sure she's steering into her corners. Andy can be a little bit of one of those lazier horses that's drifting to the middle of the arena, being like, can I just come stand with the coach and hang out and we can chat? So having these poles or pylons out so she has to steer and go into the corners helps to give that visual to make sure she's going out and around and riding Andy into those corners. So he's using the whole arena, but you can see he's super awesome at just kind of staying at the trot as he goes around. There she accidentally cut the one corner. You can see she missed the box there, but then he's finished his course, so he gets to have a little pat there. And then she'll take him out to do another course here, trying to go into those corners and steering really well. You're going to see him come around and do the little course. He's doing these cross rails as well as our pool noodle jumps, and he's doing really nicely of being confident going over them. He doesn't really care if you're two pointing, you forget and you're just posting, you bounce on him. He's a really tolerant horse, so he's worked out really, really well that way for us. We're open to finding him a new home only because we had a few new boarders arrive at our farm who also want to have their horses in lessons and would like to find part boarders for them, and their horses have more experience over jumps than Andy does. So if there is the right home for him and a good fit for him to find somebody else, great. And if not, he's a really nice, quiet horse here. And we definitely have some lessons that he can do. Just with the other horses with the boarders, there's not as much to go around. So we could find a new home for him. But if not, he's definitely a nice, quiet, gentle soul that we feel really, really lucky that we have him as well. So it's a bit of a catch-22, I guess you could say, of do we keep him or do we sell him? Because with the other horses, there's not as much to go around, but you can see he's got such an easygoing nature that we're pretty happy for him to be around too. We're going to do one more clip here with this junior rider, and then the last two clips are actually of an adult student doing some grid work and some bigger jumps with him that you're going to see him do. And they're not the greatest quality clips because the coach email or messaged them to me, so they're through Messenger are not the highest of quality. And because she was teaching the lesson at the same time, it's not the best filming job, but that's okay. I still included them because I wanted you to see such a progression of now, like, he's doing these little courses with a junior rider. He's being pretty willing and honest over that. And you guys saw his first canter jumps towards the beginning of this video, and then the last clips are going to be him going through triple series of a grid work, and you're going to see that he's improved so much with his jumping. So he's still what I would consider green over jumps, like he's willing to do the cross rails, but we're still focusing on little jumps, still focusing on getting his canter strides to the jumps and just getting his rhythm, all of those pieces. But he's really picked up this piece really nicely, and you can see he tried to come to the camera there. That's totally an Andy thing, where he's like, oh, there's somebody standing there, maybe we could go talk to them. And but as far as like quirks, like if that's the worst thing he does is try to come to the middle and be with the coach, that's really not the end of the world. So this is the grid work there. You can see he did a whole grid work line there, and then he's going to come into this triple combination as well and trotting in, and then there are these one stride lines that he's doing really nicely. You can see he's really figuring out his feet. Here's another look at the triple combination, and he's doing super awesome. So let us know what you guys think.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.